Hi everyone, if you're watching a recording, do fast forward about 2 minutes. We're going to get started here in just a moment. Just checking, make sure that everything's up and running before we go live. Well, we are live. Okay, looks like everything's up and running on my side. Let's hear back from Andy and see if it is up and running on his side. Okay. We're just about there. Andy's checking in on everybody and making sure it's all up and running. Hey, it's Monday. Did you guys have a great weekend? We sure did here. It was beautiful outside. Okay. So, what a great day. What a great weekend. I mean, it started off well, it ended well. It was a great Father's Day, hanging out with the beautiful weather outside. Got to spend a bit of time out there running around and enjoying some hikes along the way. Hope you guys all had great weather. Heading into a sort of hot, steamy, wet week again. Woohoo! So excited for that. But anyway, glad to be here and glad to be broadcasting on 4 channels today. We are on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. So do join us on one of those channels. If you're joining on one, join on another. Give us a like. We need it all. Anyway, so today is part 2 of Start Something New box clasps. So last week we started making a box clasp. Here we are. This is what it looked like. And so today we're going to do some finishing work to get it all cleaned up and ready to go. So let's review and show you what we did last week. So last week, and I wanted to talk about this for half a second. So last week, okay. So last week we created sort of a hollow form, right? And I took a disc and I soldered on this ballet bead component on top. And I domed it with, and then I added a granule, then I domed it. Now, there was a question on how I domed this. The problem that I encountered last week was I did this in the wrong steps. You know, it happens when you're just winging things and figuring it out. I should not have put the granule on top first. I should have domed it first and then put the granule on. But because I put the granule on, it was sort of peculiar on how I got this to dome. So basically I chose a well in my dapping block that was a little bit deeper so that there was space, so that this never really actually made contact with the dapping block, and I just sort of pushed it into that hollow space, that void, to create just a little tiny bit of a dome. So since it was so minor, it worked out just fine. So that was me working around it. Okay, so Andy tells me that the buffering is really bad, so hold on. Let me kill off a couple of things here and see if I can get that to change. Yeah, I see. Okay, let's see if maybe that will fix it. Okay, did it work? Uh-oh, something's up. Let's take a look. I'm gonna take a second out here. Give me a little bit of patience. Give me a second. I'm gonna check on something here, make sure that we are supposedly moving along. I see buffering is still happening. I wonder how your sound is. Can you guys hear me? Okay. Internet's not working well. I see it. It's our internet. So, I apologize for the buffering, and I think we're just gonna have to keep moving here. We can't change it on this side. Gonna have to make some phone calls when we're done. Oops. So let's see if we can get this done. So anyway, we soldered all the parts on, and I didn't do any finishing except to brush this up with a brass brush to get it all nice and shiny and to get the white oxide off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and trim this because it's slightly off here, as you can see the lip. So we'll start off with that, and hopefully things will get a little bit better. I don't know. So trimming, you know, I find cutting to be a lot faster than filing. So I always start and I trim as much as I can with my shears before I move on to my file. Okay, this file is way too fine. Can't use that file. Hold on. Find another file. This is a nice coarse file. Sorry. So Andy's asking me if it would help if I rebooted, and the reality is no. I just checked the speed on our internet connection, and it's really poor today. So unfortunately, not much I can do there. Yeah. So what I'm doing here is I'm just simply filing down the sides to do a little bit of finishing. To get it down as close as I can before I put a sanding wheel to this, because it'll go faster this way. So by the way, if you have any questions along the way, do put them in the chat. Andy is reading all the chats and letting me know if you have questions. Okay, so we're getting there. I want this really nice and smooth. It's pretty close. I'm going to move over to something a little bit more mechanical here in just a second. Nothing like a good tool. Okay. Find some nice coarse sandpaper. So, here we go. By the way, I've been working on virtually ever crafting all weekend. Classes are not loaded yet, but if you want to take a look at the instructor page, you can see who all the new instructors are. That I did get loaded over the weekend. We have about 5 new instructors joining us this next round. So I'm pretty excited for that. So I'll just sit here and sand this until it's nice and smooth. Because I want a really nice smooth transition between all of my parts and pieces. It's a really great, fast way to get there. Okay, and I like working from the back also instead of just from the front, so I can see that it is actually round. And identify all the areas that need to be kissed with some sandpaper, or a standing disc anyway. Same difference, right? So what's nice about these sanding discs, they make really, really quick work of it. although there's nothing wrong with sanding by hand. Okay, almost there. So close enough for now. Actually, this is still sort of sticking out. Let me fix this. So I didn't quite get this area yet well enough, so I'm going to round that out just a little bit more. It feels like it's sort of sticking out. All right, I'm going to hit this from the back side a little bit because I have a bit of a sharp edge. So I'm going to hit it with some sandpaper going in the other direction to create a bit of a bevel and a rounded edge. Oops, there we go. All right, so what I did do off camera earlier was I took out my divider and I measured the width of this hole. And I transferred it to a piece of sheet metal. I'm using 22 gauge because I feel like that's heavy enough to do what I want it to do. And so I made sure, and I trimmed it down, that it fit nice and snug, not too small. There's not much wiggle room at all, maybe 0.5 millimeter in there. And I made sure that both sides went in because this whole thing is going to have to go in at some point. Then what I want to do is I want to see how deep inside of this I want to go. So I think we're going to go just over halfway is plenty. I don't feel like there's a need to go all the way across. So we're going to go with about there, more than halfway. And we're measuring this to make sure that I have enough to go inside. So I'm going to go ahead and score that there. And then I'm going to take out a nice sharp file edge, and I'm going to just file right on that score mark because we're going to bend this to make it into a tongue of sorts to insert inside to make the clasp, right? So we're going to go ahead and score this like so. Don't you mean 15 to 20 second lag? So I'm just going to score this. Andy's telling me that I still have a lag, but that the internet is going better. So something is going on with our internet. It looks like it's about to storm outside though. I wonder if that has anything to do with it. And I'm just scoring this with my file. You could do the same with your saw if you want to. But I feel like if I put my saw to this, I'm probably just going to saw straight through it. Okay, so I might be, I don't know, maybe a third. I don't want to go all the way to half because I don't want to create such a weak spot. I just want to create enough of a score mark to help me bend this. But before I bend it, because once you bend it, you're going to work harden it. Once you heat it, you're going to anneal it and open up those molecules again. So what I do want to do is I want to solder a ring on the end here before I bend it, because I'm thinking that once I bend it, it'll harden it back up. That's a theory anyway. So we're going to go with that theory. And let's put this down here. Okay. I'm just going to pin it in place, and then let's see, tweezers, not those tweezers, okay. So I have a jump ring here, and with the opening, where the opening is, I am going to put the solder there, because you don't want the opening to be facing out, right? Because then you'll have an open jump ring. But this isn't exactly even, so we'll fix that just a little bit. Okay. Make sure that you twisted the jump ring so it's nice and snug and even. All right, we'll just use a little bit of easy solder paste, like so. You see that? Oh. I'm gonna put it right down, like so. Right next to it. I'm gonna butt it right on there. Let's make sure that's nice and even. All right. Let's heat that. The whole thing, and then heat right there, right by the jump ring. Make sure that solder is in place. Hello, solder. Okay, not soldering. So weird today. Of course, as soon as I think it's going to be an easy day in my head, it does this, right? Just heat the whole thing. Okay, I know that didn't solder. I'm going to put a tiny little bit more solder right on the joint and see if I can get it to flow. There we go. Not quite the way I like it though. It looks like it's a little crunchy, which means the solder still sort of looks like sand. Let's see. What if I flip it over? Let's see if I can get it from the other side. There we go. I know, it's a lot of heat for a tiny little piece like that. I don't know what the story was, but we're gonna go with it. Quench it and let's check it. Okay. Oh, that's solid. Okay, good. All right, so now that I have my score mark there, let's dry this for a second. Take out some parallel pliers, because parallel pliers will then grip the piece evenly across instead of just in the back. Like if you were to use a standard pair of pliers, the grip is mostly in the back, not in the front. So you want this to be gripped evenly, because I want this to be an even bend. And I'm going to put my pliers right next to the score mark, right there. Let's see. Let's see if I can bend it. Good hard bend, like so. I'm changing. Okay, so as I'm bending it, I see I have a slight turn there. It's not really nice and straight. So I'm going to move my pliers over and put my pliers there and start bending from the other side. And I keep moving this around because I want all my parts to be nice and straight and even. Okay, just bend it down. Like so. Okay. Moment of truth, let's see. Okay, so here, obviously not enough, it's not going to go in. Okay, so all of a sudden, I don't know what happened. I thought it fit earlier. It's not quite narrow enough. It's a little bit too wide, so I'll file that. But I have enough room inside. You can see that. So let's pull out our file and file this some. Well, I wanted a snug fit. I'm getting a snug fit. How's that? Okay. There we go. Look at that. A little bit more would be nice because I want that transition to be nice and smooth. You can see it's nice and even. Okay, look how nice that is. So I want to check this. So it should end up landing right there. Ooh. It should land right where the jump ring is. You see? Right there. So I'm going to go ahead and score this again so I know where I'm going. Let's see where this is. So basically I'm going to measure. Let's come in a little bit so you can see. So I'm going to measure this distance here to the end. Can you see that? The outside right there. So I'm going to measure this and I'm going to score it. I love dividers for this kind of thing, because this way I can totally see, or I don't have to exactly measure. I can just put this right up and it should tell me where everything is. So you can see my line is now meets the end of that on the bottom side. Okay, cool. I'm going to score that again with a file. Like so. Okay, I only scored part of it. It didn't go all the way to the end, so we're gonna go ahead and put this back in. Actually, how about I turn it around? Try it from the other direction. Like so. Okay. All right, so now I need to put a lip on the inside of this so that it catches when you pull back on it, so it doesn't just come out. It's not enough to just have tension in here, so we're gonna make a little lip here for this. And I happen to have a piece of scrap to do this with, so we'll cut a little bit of scrap. Let's see, let's get a pen out and measure this, just like so. I'm going to cut it a little bit small so then I don't have to be extremely precise about where this gets soldered. Okay. Let's go ahead and flatten that just a little bit. It curled up from the cut. Okay, so just because I'm being a little OCD, let's see. As much as I said that I was cutting it small, it seems pretty much the same size. Ha ha. So much for that. Okay, and I'm gonna come off that score mark just a little bit, okay? I don't know if you can see that. Let's pull it up. So I have my score mark here. Oops. And I'm going to solder just a little bit under that, okay? Because the top part, this top part needs a place to go. It needs a place to catch, okay? So a little more solder, like so. You can see that. I'm just adjusting it, putting it right into place. So we'll put it right here, and we'll solder that down. Well, I tried to put it in its place. I knew it was going to move a little bit, thus the pick solder, or the solder pick. Go ahead and quench and put it in pickle. Pretty happy with that. Nice and smooth. A little bit more sanding never hurts. Well, actually, a little bit more sanding does hurt from time to time. Depends, right? While we wait for the piece to pickle. But we're just about done with it. It's pretty cool. I'm pretty happy. I'm really surprised that it went as fast as it did. Makes me happy. Should there be a class? I don't know. I don't know. I'm just doing a little bit of refining to my sanding, that's all, while I wait for my piece to finish pickling. Okay, it's looking pretty good. All right, so this is the part that's got me a little bit worried, of all things, is this bendy part. I'm not completely clear that I can bend this the way I want to bend it. Actually, I'm gonna do a little bit more filing. I feel like it's a little shallow. Because I want this to have a nice bend. Okay. Okay, let's see. So I'm going to pull this apart just a little bit. I know your fingernails are not tools, but apparently it is in my world. I'm going to bend this up again using parallel pliers. I'm coming in from both sides. And then we're just going to take this. Ooh, look at that. It's bending nicely. Makes me happy. Okay. I'm giving this a little bit more of a bend. A little bit more of a squeeze in here. And then I'm going to pull it apart. Okay. Is it going to work? Oh, yeah. Did you hear it snap? It actually snapped in place. Look at that. We're going to pull this down. Okay. So the thing is, though, that's got me a little concerned is this transition right here is not a great transition. So what I'm going to do is actually, I'm going to sand that a little bit so that it's a smooth transition instead of just this bump that you have sitting out. So I'm just going to sand that down just a little bit. To create a transition. A better transition anyway. Ah, hot, hot. Yeah, be careful when you're sanding with a disc or something mechanical. It does have a tendency to get hot. So just dipped in a little bit of water. Like so. Okay. Feels a little bit better, but I'm going to keep going just a little bit to make it almost not there. Not completely, but because the thing is when you push it in, you want it to go in smoothly, right? And not catch on that lip. So there we are. Okay, push that down. All right, so another thing we're going to do too is I'm going to go ahead and sand this right here on the back side just to give it a little bit of a rounded edge. I'm going to go ahead and feel and see if there's any other roughness and remove that. Okay, so then there's this part. You sort of want it to turn it out the other way to sort of give it something to push down on. That sort of got me concerned too. I know, all aspects of this part has me concerned, and I think for me, the box class, the hardest, the part that is hardest is this one, not this. This is easy to create, but to make sure that this works, it's the mechanics. The mechanics all live in here, right? So let's see. So this has to be turned out the other way. So I'm going to show you the one that I was looking at before. This is the original that we were mocking up. As you can see, there's a tiny little lip that comes back this way so that you have some place to push your finger onto, right? So let's see, how do we want to do that? I think once again, scoring it would be a good thing to be able to bend it. There you go. So I'm going to go a little bit deeper with this one because I already know it's going to be harder to bend than the other pieces because you're talking about bending a tiny little area, which means it's going to be really rigid. Okay, maybe this is where I pull out my saw. Hold on. And I'm doing this really, really gently because I simply don't want to just cut all the way through. That's just a scary prospect at this point of the game, right? But I guess this is not the hardest thing to remake. If you have to go there. Okay. Getting there. A little bit more. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit these two corners also, just to make it smooth now instead of after. It's only going to take a second because I'm taking off a very little, tiny little bit. Okay, we'll bend it again. Okay, so here's the tricky part. How do you get this to bend without bending the other part? I'm gonna have to take out a pair of pliers. Let's see. There we go. Wow, okay, it's happening. It's happening. Look at that. Yay. Yay. Okay, I've got myself a little lip. Woohoo. Okay, so we're going to have to bend this out just a little bit because you want to create some springiness in it, right? See? It's springing back, which is great. That's what we're looking for. But I need something in here. Let's see if I can find. This is where a butter knife or a jeweler's knife comes into play. There we go. Okay, here it is. Ready? Is it gonna work? And it is in. Push it down and pull it out. It's in. Not loving that it doesn't spring back as well. So you know what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open this up and I'm actually gonna throw it in the tumbler. It's not the best way, but it'll help at least harden this up. And you want this, you need this to harden up, right? And so that it gets springy. Okay, another thing too is it's a little bit, teeny weeny bit wide. I could feel it. So I'm just gonna take a little tiny bit off here on the side and tiny little bit more on this transition. But can you see at all how it transitions with that ledge? But that is it. That's it. It worked. I'm happy. Let's clean this up while I'm here. So the solder bled a little bit here, so I'm going to clean that up too. Isn't that nice? So it makes a good transition. It's on there really well. Yep, it pops on, it pops off. Do this a bunch of times. Wiggle it around, see if it works. So I'm happy because this has now, it's right where I want it to be. I want it to be right at the end there instead of sticking out. So, yep, that makes me happy. There we go. So that's me. That's the box clasp. Pretty happy, pretty excited. Hope you guys learned something. Any questions, Andy? Okay. I thought it went pretty smoothly, and it was easy, right? So hopefully you guys will make one too. Let me know how it turns out. Send me a picture. But that's the box clasp. So on Wednesday, I'll be back with Keep It Simple. We're going to make this gold bar bracelet. I'm sorry, gold bar ring. There's a gold bar that goes across all these rings. So pretty easy, pretty straightforward. It's Keep It Simple on Wednesday. And then on Friday, we have the dialect pendant. And if you haven't signed up for that Zoom is still available to register for. Actually, not Friday, I'm sorry, Sunday. So we're taking the weekend off until Sunday, and we'll be doing that class then. So until then, I'll see you on Wednesday. Thanks for hanging out. Do us a favor, like the videos, share the videos, and check out theurbanbeater.com. Really appreciate it. Have a great week. I'll see you guys on Wednesday. Thank you.